Well, I hope you're having a good weekend. It's Sunday, and here we are on day 15 of our walk across the Hexatetraglyph. That's this oracle board sitting in front of me. We're on a 27-day journey, and today we're going to be finishing our second pathway. If this is new to you, I do recommend you go back and watch the first video in the series. I cover a lot of the basics there. But so far, we traveled pathway 1 in a downward direction, which gave us a yin line. We're building a hexagram in the I Ching. Then we've been traveling along the second pathway, and today we're going to reach position O. 15 is kind of a special number in the Lushu magic square. It's the magic constant. So today we're kind of at a special junction, I would say. We're finishing our second line of the hexagram. We're on day 15. I've already done a review. After we finished day 13, I kind of reviewed this process, so you can also take a look at that. Each day we work with astrology and tarot cards to help us journal, to help us come up with a question and answer the question. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and draw a couple planets today. Dive into the astrological portion to help us create a question, and then we'll draw 3 tarot cards in order to help us answer that. All right, so let's go ahead. All right, what do we have here? Mars and Mercury. You might notice that the board looks a little different today. I was building some boards, and I just printed off a paper and didn't coat it with anything glossy because I noticed that on the camera I was getting some shine. So this is just a piece of paper sitting on top of my board, silver ink printed on paper. So I use a plotter pen machine in order to do this. So that's just like a silver roller pen, or what do they call those? Jelly pen. I don't know, but it's a uniball. So that's just ink and paper with no shine. So hopefully that looks better. Let me know. I'm kind of holding it down with some a little Buddha statue, a little black cube, and some coins and a crystal over here. So it may move just a little bit, but I think that looks nice for today. So I just wanted to let you know that's why it's looking a little different, just because I want to test that on film and see if it looks better on camera. All right, so where are our planets today? Mars is what we worked with yesterday, and it's still in Libra. Mercury is still in Leo. I think we worked with Mercury in Leo before. Yesterday I found Mars in Libra really interesting, and we haven't done much work with Mars. I'm going to put Mars on the Yang side, on the right side, O, position O, and I'm going to put Mercury on the left side. Just my subjective decision here. Mars always feels very extremely Yang to me, so there's that bias, but then something to do with the way that I see Libra. I know that it's ruled by Venus, but I always see Libra as being pretty Yang as well. And I know that, based on its elements and other things, it's cardinal, it's usually considered Yang, but for me it feels particularly Yang, even though that's not how some might see it. So there we go. On the left, on the Yin side, we have Mercury. On the right, on the Yang side, we have Mars. And I wanted to work with Mars again today. I'd like to explore that a little bit. Yesterday was helpful for me because it gave me some new perspectives, and it really got me thinking throughout the day. I noticed that not just when I was writing in my journal, but all day I was having these little experiences. I was out walking my dog, and I was like getting a bit frustrated because she kept going after squirrels, and she tripped me and knocked me down. And then I was like, should I discipline her or should I be gentle? And it really had me thinking, And then I realized tough love, don't Don't get too angry. I've spent so much time teaching my dog love so she's not reactive towards people. You know, she's a big German Shepherd. You got to be careful with that kind of dog. Don't go back on that. Don't mess all that love up that you've given her. But she does need some tough love. She's knocked you down a couple times on this trail, and you know, she's not getting the point. Every time I tell her no, she doesn't care. She wants to chase a squirrel, and she always catches me off guard. So I had to give her the really firm voice, and I don't usually do that with her. And then I was feeling bad, you know, should I have done that? She looked sad. I was probably just projecting, but it really just had me thinking all day, and I believe there's more here to consider. So it's going to be nice. We're going to find out which pathway we're moving on yet next for our third pathway. And the pathways start becoming shorter at this point. The game or the process, it sort of refines itself as it goes on. You know, the first couple pathways are big and long, and it's helping you get into the feel of the game, and then you refine yourself. You learn how to do this. You become more confident with it, and the pathways become shorter. So I think it's kind of an alignment process. It's just the natural layout. The way that I envisioned the board was sort of like a decision tree. And in order to keep it at in these dimensions, you know, the final pathways end up being pretty short. But I think that that's nice because it allows you to become more advanced and trust yourself as the process goes on. So with Mars in Libra, I think is what I've been considering is we have scales in Libra, right? And we have two very different things, Mars and Venus, you know, or beauty and love and relationship and harmony and war and passion, you know, conflict. One is cutting and one is harmonizing. And Mars is in its detriment in Venus. I'm thinking about those scales, and it's just really a wonderful symbol. Because for me, my scales seem to get out of balance really easily. And either I become too gentle and I allow things to, I become too avoidant. And the reason why is because when I become too reactive, I'm too harsh. I'm that crab that snaps and injures, you know. But that's not a good way. I need to learn how to balance that scale better. That's just not functional to be to have a scale that's not calibrated properly, you know. So a little thing here will just throw it out of order. Being protective, even fighting to keep someone in my life sometimes, you know, it's the wrong method. I tend to confuse that way to keep people close to you. You know, I confuse the methodology. Oh, you know, you fight to keep someone close, but in short, that's a bad idea because you end up pushing them away because people don't really want to be around that sort of energy. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here, but I want to figure out how to stay in perspective better so that my scales stay balanced between being the lover and the fighter. And I know we already discussed that yesterday, but I think I just need more information. I just need more balance on that. I need more perspective. When I'm in the moment and these things arise, I need to know how to be more in control. So let's go ahead and take a minute or two and write down some ideas in our journal. Okay, let's go ahead and draw 3 cards. I'm just going to allow the cards to kind of fall how they may. And again, just like yesterday, I just want to try to get a story out of this. Hopefully I can see a storyline, a narrative. And is what I'm looking for is show me what to do. Show me how to think. Show me how to feel when I'm in these situations that I'm too emotional, I'm too overreactive. I need a way to reframe, reframe my way of looking. I need to be cognitively aware, notice the signs, and implement a plan so that I don't do things I regret. I don't want to be overreactive, and that's probably at the core of this. All right. As I mentioned yesterday, I get triggered because either there's things that go way back into my past, or I have just felt like I've been in a fight for so long that I don't realize, hey, I'm not in a fight here. I'm not, So I can't go into too much details right now. I'd like to move on with this, but hopefully that makes some sense. Okay, so we have the Page of Wands, Judgment, and the Ten of Pentacles. So what I notice immediately is on one side you have an old man looking at his legacy and his posterity. And on the other side, you have a young man that's a fire sign, right? I don't think I've heard the Page of Wands being associated with Mars, but maybe. He's got all those salamanders on him. That's very fiery. Has to do with alchemical fire. And the wand is in the fire suit, I think of something more Martian on this side. Although both also have some Earth associations here. So Venus with Earth. Well, no. The Ten of Pentacles is Mercury. I remember this one. It's Mercury and I've kind of tried to memorize the deacons for the minor arcana because it's very helpful if you can get the deacons. And I remember that it's Mercury because it looks like business, right? It looks like commerce. That's what I always think when I look at that card. And so immediately I remember that has to do with Mercury. I will look it up and put it on there. But I know it has to do with legacy, and it's easy to pick that. It's easy to pick that symbol up. The old man looking at his posterity. And so, you see these two kind of opposing forces almost, and then judgment in the middle. And every time I look at the judgment card, I think of redemption. So there's kind of a timeline here in a way. The youthful, the elderly, and then in between, the judgment. And I am kind of in between youth and getting older. I'm middle-aged, I guess you could say. The old way of dealing with things. The Page of Wands, it doesn't look it doesn't look aggressive, right? It doesn't. But I can associate that, though. If I use a little free association, I can think the old way, the young man's way of dealing with things. And the 10 of Pentacles, it kind of reminds me of my grandfather, who he could handle a conflict if he needed to. He's not going to get in a fist fight. He's not going to scream at someone. But he had his mental capacity, he had his ability to argue and think. And he also had his financial resources. He had his respect that he had earned too. He had built a life that kept him, or allowed him to have some sort of power even as an old man. Just having the respect of people around him. So the judgment to me is looking back, looking forward, and redemption. Do I want to feel that redemption? Do I want to have a legacy of being wise? Or do I want to just remain as the youthful, fiery person as I get older? Do I really want that? Is there something I can do to stop and think about? Do I want redemption? Do I want to be wise? Do I want to be respected? What do I want my legacy to look like? And that's the story I see here. So I think I'll leave it at that for today. Let me know if you saw something else in those cards. I really like that. That helped me get more clarity. Yesterday, I think I just laid out the problem, and then today I feel like I got a little more insight into possibly how to deal with it. Okay, so that's it for our second pathway. Let's count these up. I'm pretty sure I know which one won. I think we're going to be on the yin side. I think so. Let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, we have a tie. We have a tie. And it does go to the inside because there we go. Jupiter just stepped in. Remember, on day one, we decided Jupiter was going to be yin because I forget what it was compared to, like the sun or something. What was it on day one? The sun versus Jupiter? I can't remember, but the sun, let's say it was the sun went on the yang side and Jupiter went on the yin side. Yin was in Cancer. And I think the sun was in Leo or something. And so we said, Jupiter is going to be yin. Jupiter is going to be yin for the whole game. It's going to sit there and resolve a problem like what we just had today, where we were dead even there. So Jupiter just had a big moment here. And, really, I think that might be like a decent time to pause and think about Jupiter in Cancer as well. Maybe we'll do that. But tomorrow we'll be on P over here on the left side. Now look at that. We're down to just these hexagrams remaining. One of these hexagrams will be our hexagram. The bottom trigram will either be Earth or Mountain, depending if our next pathway ends up Yang or Yin. So if we go Yin, 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 then we know we end up with a bottom trigram of Earth. These are all Earth. And if we go Yin, Yin, Yang, we know we end up with a bottom trigram of Mountain. So these are all Mountain on the bottom side. Hopefully that's starting to become pretty obvious. So we have 2 yin lines so far. That doesn't surprise me at all. I've had a lot of yin energy, but I have felt a little yang energy swinging back into my life. So you saw it almost went back yang. You know, yang had its little run there for a while. These are the cards we have left to work with. We've gotten through quite a bit of the deck now. So day 15 is complete and very productive. Good day. I think maybe I will take a look at Jupiter and Cancer here. We'll take a look at Jupiter at Cancer before I go. Maybe something to think about tonight. Joy comes from feeling safe in your group, held together by your generous caretaking. Faith is likely to rest on principles of tradition. Carol Taylor, Astrology. Does that not seem like it really worked well with that 10 of Pentacles? Joy comes from feeling safe in your group, held together by your generous caretaking. Faith is likely to rest on principles of tradition. Now tell me, does that not sound like the 10 of Pentacles? That's great. Good fortune, blessings, enthusiasm, possibilities, opportunities, abundance, maybe even some redemption. All right, thanks for hanging out with me again. I hope this was valuable for you. Remember, I have a little Etsy shop, so if you'd like a hexatetraglyph, I make them from hand I make them from scratch by hand. I'm selling them for really cheap right now because I'd just like to get some of them out there. And I'm going to always try to keep the prices really low. So, I'm going to do my best with that. Hopefully, I can continue to buy the goods I need to build them for a decent price. But yeah, that's the plan. So if you'd like one, check it out and help support what I'm doing here by purchasing one. It gives me something to do. I enjoy it. And with that, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.